Cinema Bureau of Investigation, CBI for short. They investigate the C-Files, a mysterious collection of untouched film reviews that were lost for years. Until now. From terrifying encounters with dangerous poltergeists to heart-pounding chases with the galaxy's deadliest aliens, they will uncover their truth. Their mission is to investigate the supernatural and unexplained secrets of the C-Files. Now, here are your hosts, Special Agents Spooky Clutter and Carter Sauce.
Kong bows to no one. Hello there, fellow investigators. Welcome back to the C-Files March of the Monsters. I'm Special Agent Spooky Clutter.
I'm Special Agent Carter Sauce.
And I'm Special Agent T.
And today we are doing a first impressions video on Godzilla Vs Kong. So as of recording this, we have just got out of the theater. This is our first impressions video, and there will be no spoilers. I repeat, no spoilers in this little first impressions video we're doing. After we're done here, we're going to be doing a actual review. We'll have a spoiler-free section and a spoiler section. So until then, this is what you're going to get. And straight out of the gate, wow. I got to say, waiting an entire year for this film to come out, it was definitely worth the wait.
I'll say, originally this movie was supposed to come out in 2020, but when the pandemic broke out, it just knocked us off. It just threw a big old monkey wrench in our plan, though. So I'm pretty sure that when the pandemic hit, it sort of gave them a little time to sort of fix the mistakes or maybe do a little re-edit, maybe per se. But I have to say, it was definitely worth the wait in gold.
Yeah, I have to say, man, pandemic my ass. It was a monster-demic, just an explosive, total destruction, all out, whatever the hell you want to call it, it was in full effect in this film from beginning to end. It didn't lack any of that. Anything, whatever, if you're going into this film expecting what you wanted to really see in the previous movies, well, you got that in this movie. Complete monster mashup.
Absolutely. Having Godzilla versus Kong again all these years later was definitely worth the wait, and they duke it out like really hard. I haven't seen Godzilla this aggressive since Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think that in this film, he was actually more aggressive than he was in that film. Godzilla is still very powerful nonetheless, but he was much more aggressive in his somewhat natural state. And going up against Kong, it was just a slobber knocker, to use a wrestling term. And this really was almost like a wrestling fight. You know, you have like these different rounds, you could say. You know, when they first face off, and then they might face off again later. And it's just amazing what they've accomplished. And Godzilla being so ferocious, and Kong being very ferocious, and just seeing Kong's evolution from Skull Island into this film was really good. And
yeah,
go ahead.
I agree. Yeah, no, I want to interject real quick. I agree. It was just everything you were expecting to have the ante up the ante rather. It was there. You still had the human factor there. I appreciate that big time, where you have these titans fighting against each other, and you have the humans that are interacting within this scenario too. And also the actual storyline, it just goes hyperbolic. It goes global. It really does. And you'll see that when we do our complete review of the film.
And this movie doesn't beat around the bush. They go straight. They just dive straight into the action, though. Like the scene in Saving Private Ryan. You know, as soon as those gates come down, you are being assaulted with bullets, because that's what it feels like when we first watched it. That's what it felt like. I was being assaulted by awesome bullets.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that too, because within that thing also, Carter Sauce, I was seeing that when actors are thrown into something like to create a situation that's ongoing, and you can go in there and pull it off like these actors did, I have to say it was just great. I was really impressed because I've seen a lot of movies in the past where they just throw people right into the human situation, and the actors just aren't performing. They're not engaged. The actors in this film are actually pretty seasoned. Even the young ones, uh, I've noticed too. There was a couple of young kids in this movie that I've seen in other movies, and of course we had some returning actors from the previous movie also. So it was just really good. I'm really impressed. I can't wait to see it. So we watched this on a Cinemark XD theater. Okay, great sound, great experience. We're gonna go watch this movie in IMAX on Saturday. So I'm expecting to get probably more sound, maybe more picture. I don't know what I have to look at the film ratio, how it was laid out, if we're going to get some more. But the views were spectacular. And you're going to know exactly what I mean when we talk about the sky view versus the earth view, depending upon if you're upside down or not.
Right. I mean, this movie begs to be watched on a huge screen. The color, textures, all of that stuff was just amazing. The soundtrack was really good. The human story was a little lacking, at least in comparison to Godzilla King of the Monsters. With that said, the human factor is something I really enjoyed, especially in relation to Kong. It was really well done, and they added in a somewhat unique little twist for the Kong story, just a little bit. And based on the trailers, you can kind of surmise what's going on, but we'll save the more juicy details for our full review.
My thoughts exactly.
Right. I want to say that we've had years now of Legendary putting things together, and we're really now knee deep in to the direction that they're going. Okay, I believe it's going to get better. Yeah, there's things to fix, and especially continuity, keeping characters consistent from one movie to the next, especially those characters that actually performed well previously. I think that those things need to be carried on no matter what film you're dealing with. If you're bring characters back, you got to build them up even more in the next film.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that I really was glad that they did in this film was bring back some of the older characters from the previous film into this film. I will say that some of them didn't necessarily get as much screen time as I wish they did, but they're there, and I was glad to see them. And continuity is very important, and it's always good to see familiar faces because, in the previous films, like going from Godzilla 2014 to Godzilla King of the Monsters, it was good to see like Serizawa again, kind of carrying on that torch. And of course, they always switch out the main leads, like the male lead or the female leads. They always have new actors filling in new positions. And in some ways, that's good. In other ways, I wish they would kind of stick with certain characters and build upon their story like they build up with the monsters. Because while we all love to see the giant monster films, I love it. The human factor isn't all too much important to me, but at the same time, it is, especially as a Western viewer, somebody from the West that didn't grow up with these movies when they first came out. The human factor was very important and is very important. And while they are there definitely in the classic films, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying in Western audiences, they're very important too. And they built up on certain stories from the previous films a little bit. They introduced some characters that are related to other characters, and it was nice to see that. It just, in my opinion, I think that they probably need to build up on it just a little bit, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, they also what they also built up on was the monsters. I mean, Godzilla, King Kong, and I won't say the others, but they built their visuals. The CGI was really done well. It's just, to me, it's off the charts good, very good, and they brought out what we needed to see out of King Kong and Godzilla. I mean, to the umpteenth level. They upped it in most things in this movie.
With that being said, I think that it's like the biggest fight ever compared to like a legendary UFC fight that's on pay-per-view. That's like the biggest moment. You want to experience it. You want to see who's going to win. That's what this is basically. It's like a major league UFC fight.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to ditto that, Carter Sauce, because you're right. It's almost like I was going into this movie, and now that you said what you said, I'm thinking about, oh my God, you've got Mike Tyson's coming back to fight another guy. I forgot his name, who was a former light heavyweight, I guess. God, his name escapes me, but these guys come back to fight, and they're older. They're in their late 40s and I think early 50s. So it was a titanic fight on the screen, like it was in my example with Mike Tyson. So
right. So as we bring this to a close, how would you guys rate the movie, and what are your feelings overall?
I give this movie 10 out of 10, and I have to say, even though it's a year late, better late than never. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I give it a 9.5 out of 10. There's two big hangups. Well, I don't want to say they're big. They're hangups that were necessary to be fleshed out, and not only fleshed out, but one of the issues, it needed to be in there because it's been in the previous other films. And of course, we'll get into that when we do our full review.
Right. And as for me, I also give it a 9.5 out of 10. Overall, the movie delivers exactly what you would want it to deliver. There wasn't really any kind of shortcomings that hindered the film and my enjoyment of it. The only thing I will say, as this is non-spoiler, of course, is that the soundtrack could have been a little better for me personally. There were certain things missing in the soundtrack that I wish were there that could have helped out the movie, but it doesn't destroy my overall enjoyment of the film. So 9.5 out of 10 for me, and I definitely recommend you guys go see this in the biggest screen that you can, because you will get one hell of a show. And with that all being said, thank you guys very much for listening, and until next time, fellow investigators, remember, the entertainment
is out there.